Good morning. My name is Toni Runci, and welcome to our webinar today. I am one of the co-founders and owners of Bluelion. We are a human resource and operations consulting company, and we're thankful to have you with us today. Hopefully I can click through. There we go. Today's topic is on health and wellness in the workplace. Today's topic is financial wellness in the workplace and how important it is for employers to recognize health and dental are not the only things that provide wellness in the workplace for our employees, and how employers can really leverage financial wellness in the workplace to create a more positive work environment, long tenure, reduced turnover, reduced absenteeism, and increased productivity. Our lovely legal jargon in the beginning that we're requested and required to put out here. We are not giving you any legal advice. We are not giving you any retirement advice. Anything here is for education purposes only. And if you have questions, obviously you can reach out to us. We can connect you to professionals that are covered under this, but we are only giving you educational information to be able to bring back and implement into your own workspace. As I said, my name is Toni and I will be your presenter today. Our agenda today is to discuss what is financial wellness. I think a lot of people maybe have different ideas or definitions of what that may mean. Some employee financial statistics that I think really are driving the marketplace to add the financial wellness into the benefit package for employers. What is true financial wellness when you've hit that peak in your workplace and in your personal lives? Why is it so important to focus on this, especially now, a year into a pandemic where many people have had different kind of financial stressors, topics that you can discuss in the workplace, some ideas, how you can promote financial wellness programs and different kind of programs that are out there. So what is financial wellness? This is a pretty standard definition if anyone were to ask. So financial wellness really means overall wellness. A lot of times, I think employers think to themselves that the only level of financial wellness they can provide to an employee is the compensation structure. Do they have a good base salary? Are there benefits, bonuses, overtime, things like that? And then I think that they forget oftentimes, however, that what's happening in the workplace does not necessarily dictate what's happening at home. So at home, people struggle oftentimes with living above their means. Maybe they are living in a place that the rent is too high. They're not good at budgeting. They've over kind of strapped themselves when it comes to a car payment, a mortgage, whatever it may be. Maybe they had a significant other who lost their employment. So overall financial wellness is used interchangeably with just financial well-being. And it's employees being able to have access to programs in the workplace that can support their overall wellness, making sure that when they come to work, they're not worried about how to pay their next bill, and they can focus when they're at work on what is actually happening. So here are some pretty scary financial statistics, if you ask me. 50% of employees spend more than they earn each month. That to me is a direct correlation to budgeting. I know oftentimes we hear in the marketplace that these things can be solved if we increased minimum wage or, decrease the cost of healthcare, discuss different things with taxes. But a lot of what's happening in today's society realistically has to do with financial mindfulness, really recognizing what's happening with your budget, what's happening with your money, making good financial decisions, and having that be kind of muscle memory. Everything is really a choice if you have the opportunity. Obviously, losing your job is not a choice, but making sure that we're making good financial decisions is a practice. That is something that people don't necessarily know how to make good decisions on. So 50% of employees are spending more than they earn each month. And what that generally correlates to is employees coming to you and asking for raises, telling you that they can't cut their own bills, they can't make ends meet. And oftentimes, sometimes turnover, an employee will leave a place of employment for something as small and insignificant realistically as $1 more somewhere else without taking into account necessarily the full scope of benefits. So oftentimes, if you have an employee who says they're leaving and maybe they're making, $2,000 more a year at a new location, that really breaks down to almost $1 more an hour. But oftentimes they're not thinking about the fact that, what does my benefit package look like? Is there a 401k match at my new employer? Do I have other kinds of benefit costs built in? So when employees don't recognize that they're overspending and what that budget looks like, they make poor decisions. And again, they put themselves over and over again into a situation to be overspending what they're bringing in. 37% of workers say they have more debt than they can manage. I think that number can just generally be changed depending on the generation of the employment that you have. I know a lot of times we are hearing things in the media about student loan debt, what that kind of looks like, how the young millennials are feeling about the student loan debt, so on and so forth, versus maybe some of the baby boomers are not necessarily experiencing that, but they're feeling maybe there's different other kinds of debt that they're in. So 37% is a pretty good size. It's almost 4 people out of 10 in your workplace. 41% of employees say that they don't have enough savings to cover 3 months of living expenses. If you ever ask a financial advisor, I'm sure they'll tell you your emergency fund should on average cover 3 months of living expenses. And the fact that we've obviously had emergency in the last 14 months with COVID, I think reflects the fact that a lot of people, this was hit really hard, which is why the government tried to assist with different kinds of financial stimulus packages, the unemployment increase, so on and so forth, to try and offset some of those things of not really being prepared for a crisis. And I definitely think we would all say that the last year has definitely put each one of us, whether we were super ready for financial kind of distress or not, into some level of crisis, whether it just be stress related or financially related. 60% of employees would be more likely to stay at a job if their employer offered financial wellness benefits. So that really comes down to tenure. How are you keeping your employees? Are you losing good employees for that dollar, that $2, to another organization that has a financial wellness program that discusses a more total financial wellness package for the employees? 60% is huge, especially in today's current market space where it's hard to even find quality employees, even find people to apply for a job. Keeping the employees and the quality employees you have is so important to making sure your company stays on target. 71% of workers would be comfortable discussing financial matters at work with a financial professional unaffiliated with their employer. So that's a unique statement. When we use the word unaffiliated, what that generally means is not somebody who's actually in-house. So employees may feel okay maybe going to their direct boss and saying, I need a raise because X, Y, and Z, or even the HR person on site saying, I need a raise because of X, Y, and Z. But very few of them are going to come and say, can you help me plan for my child who's going off to college? I need help with my retirement account. I'm not sure how to budget. My husband maybe overspends on eating out. Things that are a little bit more private that people like to keep to themselves. That does not mean that an employer cannot provide a resource through employment similar to an employee assistance program where it's 100% confidential and it's maybe free to the employee or a very nominal fee to the employee, or the employer picks up the full cost to provide that resource. Then they feel more comfortable knowing I can go to, Jim or Sarah or Ken or whoever you're contracted with and talk to them. And that's private information just between me and them, but my employer is helping me make that connection. This is provided by Bank of America. Employees are stressed about money, 56% employees are stressed about money. What does stress generally relate to? Illness. So that's where we get that absenteeism situation. So when we're stressed all the time, there is a scientific medical reason that our bodies release different kinds of chemicals that reduce our ability to fight off illnesses, reduces our immunity to things. And of course, we get sick easier. I think if we know people in our lives who are stressed out significantly more than some other people, we recognize maybe that they call out sick more, or they are constantly having some kind of small, hopefully not significant ailment that's causing them stress. If you're missing work, that's a productivity issue for the employment. So it's something to pay attention to. Employees, 53% say stress interferes with work. I think that number is likely significantly lower than the truth. I think a lot of people don't recognize how much in the back of their mind finances really affects them. Even people who are in good financial places, finances generally run most of the decisions that we make day to day. And unless you are independently wealthy or you're making just $1 million an hour, like some people who are at that 1%, it can be difficult not to think about finances. 83% of employees say financial benefits are critical to financial security. So again, this has to do with being able to retain that top talent, to recruit the top talent, and to make sure that the employees who are with your company are remaining stress-free, are able to have better productivity, are able to produce better because they're able to focus on what's happening when they're at work. They're not worried about how am I going to grocery shop after work today to bring home dinner tonight. Some people have to make those choices. And so when you think about 83% of your staff would feel more strongly connected to your company if you provided a financial wellness program, that's a pretty good number to be looking at. So what is true financial wellness, right? What is the goal of offering these classes? What's the goal of connecting to different partners? The goal of being able to provide this to the employees is for employees to feel like they have control over their day-to-day finances. So many people feel like it's out of control. I don't have control. It's a mindset, right? I don't have control over how much I pay in a mortgage or how much I pay in rent. The cost of living is going up. The answer to that is yes, a lot of those things are very, very true. However, if you're making other good financial decisions, if you're working with a financial planner who can help you with budgeting, who can help you understand how those different things may affect you, you can make better preemptive decisions before something hits and you're out of luck. Having enough cushion to handle most financial emergencies. I think the statistic is most Americans have less than $400 in their bank account to handle for an emergency. $400 in 2021 doesn't go very far. I mean, that's what, brakes maybe in your car that go or need to be done, and a oil change and a registration, and you're done. So if you think about significant things, we live in New England, there's weather related things, a tree falls on your house or snow damage or all kinds of different kinds of struggles. Being able to have the cushion to know if something happened, I wouldn't have to necessarily tap into credit cards or take a line of credit against my house, or maybe make another decision that would just put you deeper into the hole of debt. They're out of debt and able to manage their expenses without using a credit card. That's a huge one. I know we all see the commercials on TV saying, cash back and this and that for credit cards. If you don't know how to use credit appropriately, 9 times out of 10, you have employees who are getting themselves into really deep credit card debt. And if they're not paying those bills off monthly, they're talking about 24 to 29% interest rate. Interest is what generally buries people, puts people into having to declare bankruptcy. Because if you have $1,000 and then it goes to $2,000 and all you're able is to pay the interest, that dollar amount is going up month to month to month until you're really in over your head. You're on track to meet retirement and your savings goals. So I think that there is definitely some different statistics for how each generation feels when it comes towards retirement, right? And especially depending on some of those older generations who have experienced several different kinds of economic downturns. 2009, I guess you could claim technically right now might be considered an economic downturn. Some people really struggle with that because the market is still doing really well, but the uncertainty in the market creates kind of a who knows what's going on situation. Again, connecting with a financial planner to tell you what that means is so helpful. Uncertainty causes people to make decisions based on emotion. And oftentimes when we make decisions on emotions, they're not the best. So we make poor decisions because we're afraid, and then we've put ourselves in a situation that's difficult to get out of. So making sure we're on target for retirement. Are we putting money away? One thing that I love to do for companies that have 401ks is if I'm participating in a salary increase with an employee, on average, an increase can be between 1% to 5%, depending. If I have an employee that I know is already participating or hasn't yet participated in a 401k and they're about to get an increase, I always talk about retirement with them in that time, because I tell them before you even get your first check with your increase, put more money into your 401k, 1%, just take 1% of your raise and put it into that 401k account. You won't even know it's gone because you've never lived with it. And slowly and surely, year after year, you can increase that amount and have more significant savings without ever really feeling it in your pocket. So it's a great time to talk about retirement when you're talking about increases with employees, because retirement's a big piece. And I make the joke very openly. I'm in my early 30s and I have no hope for Social Security or Medicare. So I know I need to make sure that I'm financially sound and well so that when I hit retirement, I can rely on myself for those kinds of resources. And I think that that's going to be a very real fear and risk as our younger population ages into retirement. Financial wellness is a process, like I said, and the habits they create take a while to get there. Just like going to the gym, just like eating healthy, just like quitting bad habits like smoking or drinking, whatever it may be. It takes a while to teach your body, to teach your brain to make those right decisions. And so having the right people support you in that process is so important. So why is it important, right? So we talked about the high productivity and lower turnover. When an employee is at work and they're thinking about the stress of at home, I'm definitely one of the old school mentalities of, leave it at the door. It's a lot harder to do than to say, obviously. So if you have employees who are really living below the poverty line, or they just have a lot going on and they don't have the right resources, that stress is going to affect them at work. It's going to take their mind off what they're doing. It's going to cause mistakes. And then it's going to cause rework. And that has a low productivity and a high cost to the employer. Lowers your turnover. Employees are more and more focused on the financial aspect over, for example, health and dental kinds of insurances, because they recognize that with the right financial support and background, they're able to make better financial decisions when it comes to those other kinds of benefits. Lower healthcare costs. If you're a company that offers healthcare, health insurance to your employees, generally, we did a training a month or so ago about how healthcare costs are affected by claims. That comes from the stress, that comes from the illness. If people are sick, they're calling out sick, they're going to the doctor's office because they're high stress or they have, different kinds of things, anxiety related to finances. That's going to increase your company's healthcare cost year over year. So paying attention to that and recognizing that by reducing employee stress, you're reducing some of those healthcare costs over time. More participation in retirement plans. The number one thing when I talk to employees that I get is I don't have enough money to put into retirement, because they're so focused on the right now. They can't see how by not preparing for the future, by the time the future gets here, they're just putting themselves in a worse situation. But that again comes back to budgeting. Why do they feel like they don't have enough money to put into retirement? What financial choices are they making that's putting them in a position to feel like they don't have a 1% of your paycheck to put into a 401k of some kind, or 2%? So you want to have an increased participation in retirement, and that works great for an employer too, whether you match or don't match. Reducing an employee's taxable income reduces the taxable income to you as an employer, so it's a win-win on both sides. Decreased absenteeism. Again, after improving employee financial wellness, the average number of unplanned absences fell by 24%. Why is that so important? Oftentimes, employers make decisions based on ROI, which is return on investment. So how do we really track, is our financial wellness program giving us our return on investment? You can see it in certain things. The increase in the retirement, how many more people are participating this year than last year? How many more people are putting a higher percent in or getting the highest available match if your company offers that this year versus last year? And then again, absenteeism. Oftentimes, if you have hourly staff and you're tracking people, calling out sick, you'd be able to see this year versus last year, the same number of employees had less time out of work. So it's a way to really see the results of the efforts that you're putting forth. Just like a health and wellness program focused on people making better health decisions, a wellness program when it comes to finances is not an overnight solution. You won't necessarily see the results of this in 6 months to a year. You will, however, see it within 2 years, 3 years. You could see it faster, depending on the buy-in you get from your employees and how important you let them know that this is. 59% of employees with access to financial wellness benefits report being extremely satisfied with the employer's offering. That means that oftentimes they're not looking for another job. If employees are satisfied with where they're at, compensation, benefits, financial wellness, culture, they wouldn't go somewhere else. Employees won't make a move for $1 more because the total package is where they're currently living. It's harder to pull those people and entice them out of a situation that's a really positive one. 70% of employees feel financial wellness programs helped reduce stress and increase loyalty to their employer. So again, that's a great number to think about when you're looking at your turnover year to year. Here at Bluelion, we always suggest that if you have an employee who has resigned and is leaving on good terms, doing an exit interview. So asking them upon leaving, how were the benefits for you? What would have kept you here? How did you feel about retirement? How do you feel about your compensation? And it can give you really important insight into how your organization is doing and how your employees perceive how you care about them. So if they're feeling more loyal to you, they won't leave your organization. So what kind of topics do employees want to hear? Budgeting. It's one of the hardest things. If anybody on the call has young children, I can remember when I was in elementary school, for example, the bank came in and they let us open up our own bank account. And it was back when they had the little paper ledgers that you had to write when you withdrew and added money and track your balance. We learned that when I was in 4th grade. Now, financial literacy is not necessarily being educated in every single school in the state. And so it's something that's lacking. And we're moving more and more away from a cash-based society. So people just give their children a debit card. We had cash, we used cash. My mom said, here's your allowance for the week. This is what you get to spend. And I knew I had to budget for a week. This is all I have. I can't use more than what I've got. Now kids have debit cards, credit cards, and all they think about is just, swiping that card. It's out of sight, out of mind. I don't think to myself, oh, I just charged $20. Do I have $20 in my bank account to pay for that bill? They don't think about it. So budgeting is so important. And I know it seems like something that a lot of people would know, but they don't know. Again, I make the joke, how does our society register budgeting when our government is in trillions of dollars worth of debt? It's from the top down. If they make it seem okay, we think it's okay to leverage and put ourselves in debt. And I don't think it's the best choice for us over time. So helping your employees realize, what does a budget look like? You don't necessarily need to give up eating, once a month at your favorite restaurant, but maybe you have to, decrease how many times you get a coffee in a week or whatever it may be. Talking to a financial planner, talking to somebody who specializes in these specific aspects really helps an employee see, oh, wow, I never tracked how much I was spending on that particular aspect or thing that I enjoy. I'm willing to maybe give a little bit of that up to put it into my retirement or to put it into my emergency savings fund. So paying attention to that. Managing credit card debt, helping an employee understand what interest is, helping the employee understand how to do debt consolidation, roll debt into 0%, what those different things means is really important as well. Debt consolidation can also go with school loan consolidation and guidance. So school loans, as I said, millennials feel very strapped with school loans. Right now, I will say the last year, one of the best things that did happen from COVID was the fact that they did put the 0% interest on the school loans. I know a significant number of people, including myself, who have school loans, was able to really knock away at some of those dollars and cents because I'm not paying 6, 7, 9% interest on that. So paying attention to the school loan debt and guidance is really helpful. School education planning. We're in a time frame where people have 529 retirement plans for children, not retirement, I'm sorry, school plans, to put money aside to help pay for the cost of education. We want to help offset those costs to our future generations if possible. I personally don't see nor hope for free college across America. So paying attention to those costs and making the right financial decisions and communicating with your children the difference between maybe going to a 2-year state school to start or, a 4-year, more significant Ivy League school. Nothing against each. I often find education happens the same at both. But being able to recognize the difference of debt that you're going to be in when you graduate that school, and are you really going to see that increase in your compensation over time? So really having those hard conversations. Home buying, a lot of people make decisions. I find often that banks put people in a little bit more than they should be for being accepted as to mortgages. So having that conversation of, yes, your bank has said you can buy a $500,000 home, you'll feel great at that. But having a more realistic conversation with somebody who isn't trying to get you to pay them, like a financial planner, to say, sure, you can afford a $500,000 home. However, here are some of the other spending habits that you have that's going to put you underwater. And or if something happens with this home, here's what this could look like for you. So having those really important conversations of what ifs. What ifs happen all the time, and the what ifs can really take somebody down if they're not prepared for it. And then, of course, again, back to the retirement planning. Are you putting enough money away in a 401k account, retirement, IRA, whatever it may be, and leveraging that pre-tax spending? Or if you're in a certain tax bracket, even if it's post-tax contributions, making sure that the money's in there and is earning interest for you over time. So how do we promote financial wellness in the workplace for employees to recognize how important it is? We hope most of them do, but sometimes employees think that they have it under control, or they, like with their wellness for health, they think, oh, put it off till tomorrow, put it off till next week. I don't have time for that. For anybody who puts money into retirement or has spoken to a financial planner, for every year that you miss, you're missing possibly hundreds, thousands of dollars over time with compound interest. So offer benefits that empower financial wellness. This is kind of more unique benefits such as long-term care insurance, disability insurance, student loan repayment benefits, and credit monitoring. These are things that really help employees and are a little bit more unique than the standard medical and dental and the standard 401k plan. So it creates a little bit more of a whole approach than just a siloed approach to retirement and financial benefits. Educating employees on their benefits. Make sure your employees are aware. Don't just give them a packet and hope that they have everything under control. I often find that people don't read the things you provide them, but if you sit down across from them and have a conversation, they're more likely to absorb the data and then come back and have some more of a conversation. When it comes to financial wellness, I often find too, a lot of times people really need to consider the entire family unit. Thinking about, if I'm the wife, but my husband's a big spender and I'm on a program and he's not on the program with me, we're never going to achieve our goals. So it's, again, a great opportunity for employers to say, we can bring in financial planners, or we can make sure you can schedule time outside of work to discuss things with these people. So you can include your whole family and the people that are going to help you either hit those targets or miss those targets. Remind them if you have FSAs, which are flex spending accounts, health savings accounts, dependent care accounts, and 401k plans, to utilize those pre-tax spending. I tell people all the time, if they have children and their company offers a dependent care account and they're not utilizing it, they are missing on big tax money, about 30% savings on taxes for those types of different opportunities. So making sure you explain to the employees how that works. Taxes are something that employees don't necessarily always understand. They jump into TurboTax, or they take it to H&R Block, or whoever knows, process it, and you're done. They don't always understand the impact they can have on paying Uncle Sam. I personally like to keep as much money in my own pocket as I can. So this is another thing that I think a lot of people don't necessarily leverage. Offer those educational opportunities, such as the expert lunch and learns. We'll talk a little bit about that in the next slide. And then being flexible with webinars now. We're in a much more comfortable tech world since COVID. So being able to offer people that different background and access to the professionals from their home, different hours, maybe after work, before work, lunch times, access on their own time, if they're just recorded webinars, can really help. So here are some financial wellness program examples that you can try and work into your workplace. Workshops, like I just said, hosting lunch and learns. They can be low cost to no cost if you're working with the right partner. And all you have to do really is pay for the employees to attend. So that's their hourly rate. Maybe doing a pizza or something else for them to go. I know this sounds harsh, but when I offer lunch and learns, or when I offer different financial programs, I oftentimes try and make it mandatory. And the reason for that is this. I normally find that people who have financial struggles feel ashamed or disappointed in themselves for these problems. And if I make everybody go, no one gets singled out into feeling I'm the only person here because I maybe made a bad financial decision. Again, I also don't think that everybody knows everything there is about finances. So by having everyone in the room, you get a good cross breed of people who are in different positions and spots financially that will ask really good questions. And it creates a better camaraderie of the team. You can have different kinds of people come in to do those. So you can connect with a local mortgage broker. You can connect with a local CPA. You can connect with a local accountant. A local financial planner to come in and discuss different things like we had discussed, mortgages, things like that, to share this is the difference between an FHA mortgage or a conventional mortgage, or this is the difference between a 15-year or a 30-year, or what does a point mean on your mortgage loan? These things that people don't necessarily understand. Having dedicated partners. So another option is to establish a partnership with a company that specializes in employee financial planning. Depending on the budget that you have at your employer disposal, you can, for example, go on a partnership that offers an employee services and expertise to help them manage their money. So for example, that would look something like if you're working with a financial planner, they may say my cost to work with an employee for a year and build a single siloed project just for them, making sure we're hitting their targets and meeting with them regularly, might be $1,000 a year. So I always try and tell people, do you know what $1,000 a year is as an employer? It's 50 cents an hour. 50 cents an hour to be able to provide your employee a better benefit so that they feel more connected to the employer, so that they feel more connected to their own finances, they reduce their stress, and they increase productivity for you. What's 50 cents an hour to you? Nothing, really nothing. And oftentimes, depending on who you're connecting with and working with your own company CPA, some of these expenses can be deductible to you as an employee benefit. So again, it saves you taxes, which is great. Financial wellness tools. So these solutions can be provided or personalized coaching, on-demand financial advising, custom training and e-learning. A lot of times I see financial tools are through software systems. So applications on the phone or on the computer, which are great. I never really find super success though with them being the only tool utilized. And the reason for that again is you're hoping that the employee is self-starting. You're hoping that the employee is going in and doing these things on their own. It's hard for them to do that. It's hard for them to self-start. If they could self-start, everybody would do it. So being able to really have that one-on-one connection and say, everyone's going to meet with the financial planner just to have an introductory conversation in the next 3 months. 30 minutes or less, go in, get to know them, answer questions, ask questions, and feel good about it. When you have a one-on-one person to talk to, you generally find you have a lot of questions to ask. Perks. Here's a way to, again, kind of more promote and maybe tie in some of the things. So it's not a standalone financial wellness program as a perk, but it can definitely be a part of it. As incredible as it may sound, it says some companies are offering their employees actual financial support. They can go from contributing to their student loan debt to offering fertility assistance or contributing towards adoption. So essentially what you're doing here is, as an employer, you're helping with the cost of something. So you're helping offset the cost out of the employee's pocket for some of these benefits. Perks are great. One thing that I always caution people for, however, is sometimes you don't necessarily realize, and I'm going to use this word in a weird way, that you're discriminating against other employees, not based on race, religion, orientation, or anything like that. But if I don't have, if I'm not trying to adopt a child, or maybe I don't want to have children, I'm not going to necessarily get that adoption benefit or the fertility benefit. What if I'm not contributing to the 401k? I'm not going to get that benefit that you're putting money towards. What if I already paid off my school debt? I'm not going to get the money. So being careful and making sure you're offering something that's really utilized by all the employees is more important, I think, than those one-offs trying to maybe just hit those 1 to 5% of employees who may have that specific need. I'm not saying don't offer things like that at all. I'm just saying if you are going to offer a perk, make sure you offer several perks that will make sure that they hit almost all the employees that you have. I will say, caveat, you can never please 100% of your staff, but trying to go for a 70 to 80% success rate is definitely a good target. And then here are a couple other financial benefits. So again, the financial coaching, the one-to-one financial counselors. Those are obviously people generally that are not necessarily as certified as a financial coach or a financial planner. They have to follow more strict guidelines under ERISA and retirement and all kinds of special backgrounds to make sure that they are giving legitimate financial advice, providing a certified financial planner, student loan counseling, financial aid guidance, 401k plan matching is huge. Matching is so huge. I tell employees, I said, if your employer matches you 3% a year, I go, if you put 3% of your money in, you've given yourself essentially a 3% to 6% raise every year, which is huge, especially when oftentimes financially, not necessarily employers, especially this past year I've seen, were able to give increases. If they were able to still match your own contribution, you got a 3% raise every year. You're getting a 3% raise, which is amazing. Some companies contribute more, some companies contribute less. It's free money. You're keeping your own money, you're getting some company money. That's a great, great, great benefit. Student loan repayment, again, being careful when you're offering these kinds of perks. Not necessarily does everyone have student loan repayments. 529 plan contribution, that's the college planning for your future children, grandchildren, whatever that may look like. Life insurance is huge. You hope no one ever passes while they're at work, but it is something that a lot of employees don't necessarily pay attention to. I definitely have a couple stories, unfortunately, from this last year of two people I had graduated high school with who passed away suddenly due to automotive accidents. And I see their family on GoFundMe because they didn't have life insurance. So having the funds to be able to bury somebody and then offset the cost of loss of compensation while you're also grieving is really significant to help the family of the person who passed away be able to move on and grieve in a healthier manner. Legal support is a huge one. Personal insurance review. This is so easy to do. Oftentimes people make decisions to buy their car insurance or home insurance off of an online ad or a TV ad. Well, if you can go to an independent consultant for free, they can review, the best plan options for your staff. You can call one of your local brokers in, they come in, they sit down, they say, let me see what you got, let me shop you around, and they can find you a better deal. And it costs the employer nothing to have them come and do this. And it's so great for the employee to see that benefit. Employee loans. Sometimes employee loans work. I would say be careful on the policy that you have for that. The thing about employee loans is it's like any other thing. It's a loan that's going to have to be repaid. You have to be careful if the employee terminates before they repay it. But the other thing is oftentimes employee loans come at a significantly lower amount than if they tried to get a loan through a bank. And if an employee maybe doesn't look great on paper, a bank won't give them a loan. So it's a good way, depending on the dollar amount and what it's used for, if you have the right program to help an employee in the short term. Will preparation, again, this is something that a lot of people don't think about. And then they pass away and they've put their family in a situation that is unhelpful and that puts them at stress. And then if they have to go to probate court or they have to argue it with the state because the state's holding on to those funds, it can cause the stress back to the employee. So that's another unique one. Tax preparation. If you work with a local CPA, you can say, we'll help offset the cost of the local CPA to help you. I often find having a legitimate CPA do your taxes generally gets you the best refund. It's their job to know the tax code, so they know all the special ways to make sure you pay the least amount and get to keep the most so that you can do with it what you need. And then childcare assistance. This is one we hear more and more of course. The cost of childcare is on the rise. So what does it look like if, I'm making, let's say $15 an hour, but I'm spending $20 an hour for my children to be in childcare? It doesn't really make sense for me to go to work. And so that can create a little bit of disparity in the workplace between men and women, costing, all that kind of stuff. So being able to offset some of that is a great way of leveraging your employees. So these are just 15 quick ways you can kind of work with different people. Some of these have little to no cost whatsoever. As I said, you can connect with other companies and vendors to offer legal support, like a legal shield or something like that. And it's a nominal fee and you can get different kinds of support for that, which is very helpful. Life insurance as an employer, when you're offering a group plan, is great. I personally always still encourage employees to be able to get their own life insurance policy. just because if they ever did leave the organization, it's portable to them to be able to take to the next location, and they're not reliant on their employer to get it. Additionally, if they get it, the younger you get it, depending on the plan you get, it lasts longer and you pay lower premiums over time, whether it's whole, cash out, term, all that magic. Talking to a professional about that is really, really important. And making sure you're planning for your future. And if you do have a family, their future. As I said, the will preparations, different kinds of insurance and 401k matching. So paying attention to those as well. So where does that lead us? In conclusion, offering financial wellness programs is very important and provides a great deal of benefit to the employer and to the employee. It is definitely on the rise. Statistically, over 50% of companies have added a financial aspect to their overall wellness program in the last 2 years, which is huge. I think they're just seeing more and more of the return on their investment, as well as the need in the market space when it comes to employee wants, when it comes to benefits. Oftentimes you can offer lunch and learns for little to no cost. I know employers are always looking to add more benefits, but sometimes the dollars and cents can freak an employer out, especially when health insurance is usually the largest cost when it comes to benefits. So how, when I'm spending, $300,000 a year in premiums, can I add a financial wellness piece to it? Work with a local vendor. As I said, some of these things can be provided to little to no cost. And the cost is so significantly low for some of these things that in order to offer it, you're giving such a greater benefit to the employee that it's worth the few dollars and cents that you're spending. And again, at times, a small nominal fee annually can provide your employees with a financial planner who can customize a plan to their needs. And that's so, so important. So the webinars are great. But everybody's in a different financial space. Some people have children, some people don't have children, some people are single, some people are married, some people, unfortunately, maybe have gone through a divorce and that put them in a unique, difficult financial situation. Some people want to go back to school debt, no school debt, has a home, doesn't have a home. So being able to work with somebody and say, here's what I look like on paper. How do we work with me to get to what my targets are? Because maybe not everyone's targets are the same. Maybe my target is to own a boat and someone else's target is to buy a house. So what does that look like for each of us? And being able to have somebody who can use that information on their own systems to provide that information is so helpful on a one-to-one basis. And that is our training today on financial wellness in the workplace. Now's the time, if you're interested, to put any kinds of questions into the Q&A that I'd be able to answer and or to put it into the chat function. I will leave it open for a quick 60 seconds to see if I see anything pop through, and I will answer them as they come in if there are any. Okay, I'll leave that open as we continue on. And thank you for coming. If you would like to connect with myself or any of my team members to ask for some people who are able to help you in this endeavor, we have some great partners that we work with that can offer you this kind of financial support and background, can offer you some of these lunch and learns. So we would be able at no cost to provide this information to you just as a value add of being able to attend this meeting and to be able to work and communicate with you. We always want to add value to as many people as humanly possible. So if you want to connect with us, this is our phone number, our email, and then of course, follow us on social for future webinars and trainings. Thank you so much for everybody being here today. We really appreciate it, and we hope you have a great rest of your week.